Welcome to Spirit Healer, a Hearthstone Mercenaries Podcast. Your resting point between quests. Let's join our hosts as we talk about this week's events in Hearthstone Mercenaries.
Welcome to Spirit Healer, a Hearthstone Mercenaries Podcast, a podcast focused on taking you through Mercenaries news, updates, and weekly topics to keep you at the top of your Mercenaries game. I am dragonrider, joined as always by my fellow hosts, Cinder and Siimba. How you guys doing today?
It's a great day. It's actually raining here for the first time in forever. I expected it to low-key be snow, but Kansas decided to be gracious enough to only let it be rain today. Oh, yeah. I thought it was going to sprinkle, and then I was, streaming, whatever, and then the sky decided to open up. So I'm happy to be inside, hanging out, playing Hearthstone, doing stuff like that today.
I might get some of that rain tomorrow. Got a cold front moving through, and I'm to the south of you, so it's, should be coming soon. But hey, you know what? This is the first time I've recorded the show on studio headphones. Usually I just have like a little earpiece in, but today I've got like the full blown like helicopter pilot earphones on, and the intro music sounds dope. Oh my goodness. I've never actually like heard it before. Even though I mixed it myself, I've never like truly put on headphones to listen to it, and man, that bass just slapped me in the face, man. That sounded fantastic. So now I'm pumped now.
It does. It sounds so good. But yes. Well, okay, gentlemen. We had a couple of changes over the last week. I have not felt the impacts of this myself because I actually really haven't played a lot of PvP, but a couple of things that did change. They changed some of the high-end matchmaking stuff, and Reincarnated Cairne will no longer still take the turn, which is actually kind of huge, and we have the tournament that's going to impact that we'll talk about in a minute, but how do you feel about this change?
I'm gonna kick that one to Siimba.
Honestly, that's nutty. I think the fact that Cairne still procced after being reincarnated was probably one of the most busted things in the game. Probably, even though we liked it so much, as people who play Cairne. I'm not sure if it takes it out of comps, though. Speed manipulation is probably one of the most important things, especially in PvP, maybe not so much PvE. So yeah, I'm not sure that it removes Cairne from usefulness, but I don't know. I'll say that was a good catch and something that definitely needed to be balanced.
I'm a little new to the Cairne game. I only just got him like last week, and I haven't even gotten to use reincarnation in a bounty, so I haven't felt it. But I imagine that's something that I can imagine being important. Like you could knock Cairne down to 0 and being in PvP on the ladder and not in an open deck format, and not knowing whether or not he has reincarnation, even though like most people run reincarnation. I can like not having that information is crucial, because it makes a difference on whether or not you have to plan to put in an extra attack on Cairne to knock him down. Now you don't have to do that, because if you get him down to 0, he's not going to take whatever action he was going to take. At least he's out of that round of combat. You don't have to plan for that extra oomph on him, which in my mind kind of helps you balance out your attacks and so forth. So balances out the whole battle in general.
Yeah, Cairne coming out, usually in my experience, Cairne would come out at your first mercenary death, and it wouldn't necessarily change the entire tide of the battle, every single battle, but if you had Cairne on your bench, Cairne was probably coming out 4th or 1st, however you're thinking about that. It's probably coming out directly after something died, just because I want to say, like, why not? As soon as he comes out, especially if you're running something like Vartan Dawngrasp or something, everything is slowed already, and now you just use Cairne, speed up, and you have basically a free turn. Is how it was looking in PvP previously. You'd get almost a free turn if you were using other slows.
Yeah, like his speed manipulation still super important, I feel like. So I don't think he's going anywhere from comps, but it does kind of change the texture of matchups a little bit.
Gotta
Yeah.
be more careful where you place him, when you place him, right?
Yeah.
Do you need him right out of the gate? Do you not? Do you put him in last? Does that change the tide of battle? Do you put him in the main comp, starting 3? Try to do something that way? Probably not. That's probably not the answer, for the record. That last option, not an option. But
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that changes. I think it was probably definitely something that did need changed, so I'm glad that they changed it early, but going to be interesting. I think he's still good. It's just not going to be like quite as crazy. So one thing that we also had, I know we kind of spent a good chunk of time talking about it in past episodes, but we have some new bundles. Really kind of focused on Edwin, which is, makes sense, I think, because the Edwin was one of the mercenaries that just came out. It's the only legendary that came out with these new cards, so makes sense. They're kind of trying to advertise a little bit there. I feel personally that the the bundles and the things they have in the shop right now are a little better than what they had before, so I'm pretty happy with those. But what did you guys think of the shop stuff?
I was kind of indifferent. I kind of stopped looking and hoping to buy shop stuff. Especially because after we talked about like PvP resetting and things of that nature, I wasn't as pressed to have things immediately. I felt like I could take my grind a little bit slower, so I didn't really hop back into the shop, I'll be honest.
I was pleasantly surprised to see Sneed priced at $5 instead of 15. I realize he's epic and not legendary, but I feel like the rarity just isn't as important in Mercenaries. Like the legendaries aren't just next tier more powerful than any other card. It's it's the rarity is kind of irrelevant aside from just pull rate from the packs. But still, like it's a new Merc. If you don't want to buy a bunch of packs to try and pull them, it's nice to be able to just buy them for $5. Now that said, the packs, the new getting the new Mercs and the new packs, I got 10 packs on gold and I got almost every one of the new Mercs. The only ones, ironically, the ones I didn't get were Sneed and Edwin. So I'm like, is this how you're gonna do it, Team 5? You're just gonna not give him to me in the pack and make me buy him? Is that how this is gonna go? But no, I realized that was RNG. But I'm also still on the crafting angle. Like I crafted Gul'dan this week, just out of coins from having collected them on bounties. So I feel like that's still viable for people who want to spend the time doing it. So I don't feel bad about stuff showing up in the shop just as a shortcut, but yeah, those $20 legendary packs are still kind of like sticker shock, even though they come with packs.
Yeah.
What I don't want to see again is just one card, price point, that's it.
Yeah, heard.
Yep. Well, that is pretty much it. Unless either of you two saw something, this has seemed like a pretty slow week for news for Mercenaries. We had the kind of the patch and stuff drop last week that brought the pirates, but other than that, it's been seemingly kind of quiet on the news front, which I'm sure that we'll be hearing more fairly soon, I'd imagine, probably with like the expansion upcoming. If they're going to release updates, alongside expansions and stuff, then we'll probably hear something then. But other than that, that's kind of it.
Yeah, the excitement was kind of on the Hearthstone side this week with the hotfix and the balance changes.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that the change to Cairne is really going to be seen somewhere else, and that is with the Mercenaries part of the global Inn-vitational tournament that's happening. It actually is starting tonight as of our recording, but it's running November 10th through the 14th. It was going to be the 7th, but I guess there were some delays, so they had to push it back a little bit. But I kind of wanted to talk about the format, and because this is kind of interesting, not something we've really seen before, but the format is bring 4 war bands, as we'll call them, ban 1, and then it's a best of 5 conquest format. And there's a couple little caveats as well. Any 2 decks cannot share more than 3 mercenaries. No mercenary can appear in all of the decks, and you can run different equipment for the same mercenary, across the decks. Okay.
Yeah. That's so much. There's a lot to remember, but like this is really fascinating because our events thus far have just been single warband. Now this is 4 warbands. Win 3 out of 5 games with them, and since it's Conquest, it means you got to win once with each of your warbands, which is really fascinating.
Oh wow, that is, yeah. For best of 5, you'll have to win all 3.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know. There's definitely more than I'd say 4 good warbands for sure, but I don't know that it's been long enough that we have all the matchups. That's one of the biggest things that I used to pay attention to when I would listen to people cast grandmasters or watch people prep on like Twitch or YouTube for grandmasters, is they had played so many games with their lineup versus other top tier decks, so they could learn the matchups. I mean, you can go all the way back to like Freeze Mage mirrors and Control Warrior mirrors. Like if you didn't know the matchup, you were just losing. It'll actually bring a lot of required preparation to have this that way, which is really nice for a competitive scene.
Yeah, and we actually already know the warband compositions since it's an invitational and they don't have, there's not a ton of players flooding in. We've seen the deck list already. Our friend Pasca from No Pros here was nice enough to float us the analysis on these. But yeah, like lots of things you would expect to see. Lots of Cairne, lots of Diablo. But the one thing that I was really interested to see was almost all these deck lists, or war bands, I guess, as we're gonna try to call them, almost to the war band are balanced. You got 2 protectors, 2 fighters, 2 casters. There's a little bit of variation, especially with the European side. We've got some couple of war bands running 3 casters and 1 running 3 protectors, but yeah, this is there's just so much you can do, and they're really forced to diversify these warbands by way of the comp rules. So they're really coming up with some really interesting builds. It's just diving into these and putting my head around these is fascinating, really.
Yeah, not only do they have to have 4 different warbands, but then there's those restrictions, like you said, right? Like they can't all have Cairne. You could have Cairne in 3 of them, which I believe everybody brought Cairne in all, like in the maximum, 3 that they could. But
yes.
Yeah, like there's correct. A lot of Cairne. But yeah, it's really going to be interesting. And I think I talked before when we had that, the 1 warband and then people played like a best of 3, how it was really interesting to watch people and see, okay, they started with those 3 mercs and then game number 2 they went in, and now they're down a game, so then they change up their strategy. But I don't think we're going to see quite as much of that, I'd imagine, with this multi-warband Conquest format. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to watch it. Plus this is the first like big major Mercenaries tournament, right? There's already been some like third party, just kind of grassroots tournaments, but this is going to be the first big one.
I think they've set it up well, especially for it being the first one. Like they've taken a lot of feedback into consideration, and they've put out a format that I think will bode well, if at least not for this tournament, for the future possibly as well.
Don, you brought up queue order, which there's again just super interesting to me that with Mercenaries you now have 2 layers of queue order, right? Like in Hearthstone, you did a best of 5. You were just queuing. What order did you want to queue up your decks? And in Conquest, I think the consensus among competitive players was it just random, just roll a die, doesn't matter. It was a lot more important in Last Hero Standing, but in a format where you have to win with all 3, it doesn't really matter. I could pick that bone for hours, but I'm not going to. But now we have a second level of queue order, like you said. Like do you have a set queue order for your mercenaries and your warband? Do you, or do you change it up based on your opponent? And there are going to be instances where you have to play the same warband again because you lost with it. So when you queued up, mercenary A, B, and C in your first game, you lost. So when if you got to try to win with it again, do you change your mercenary queue order on the second try, on the third try? There's a lot that's going to go into this that we haven't yet seen tested in a tournament format, and I think this is gonna be a crucial like trial by fire for mercenaries as a PvP tournament event type of format.
Yeah. Oh, 100% agree. It's going to be really interesting. So I'm sure we'll talk some about it, maybe some of the key matches or something, or things we found interesting next week after it's happened. If you are interested in watching that, though, just a heads up, it is going to be on both YouTube and Twitch. So yay! Yay for that. So the unfortunate thing for many of us that are in the United States is that this does start fairly late because it's kind of based on China time. So for many of us, we'll probably have to go back throughout the day and watch some of the VODs from kind of the night before. But it's gonna be really interesting. I'm excited for it. But this week we're gonna talk about PvE. We're gonna change gears a little bit. We're kind of talking about this PvE. I think we can maybe dig a little bit more into that next week. But for this week, let's talk about some PvE stuff. We're gonna Cinder really had the idea kind of going through some of our biggest tips and kind of breaking down a little bit some key factors or things that we really want to mention and talk about when playing through some PvE. So I will let Cinder, if you want to kick it off, why don't you get us started with the topic and give us a starting point here.
Yeah. So, there's, when it comes to PvE, PvE kind of, it has its own content, right? The fun of tearing through all the bounties and try to complete all the bounties and then complete the heroics and everything. But for a lot of people, there is a secondary endpoint of moving your stuff to PvP eventually. But there's a lot about the PvE mode, the base game mode, that really isn't explained and isn't transparent. And I thought it was worth kind of talking about that. And the first thing is the tasks that you get. You get when every mercenary in your collection can give you a task, right? Every day you get a bunch of them. They show up at your campfire and they say, hey, please do this thing for me. Destroy X number of minions, or choose the fighter coin twice, or whatever it is. And you get a reward, usually coins, sometimes it's equipment. But I want to explain what those milestones are first. So the first thing is task 2. The second task you ever get from any mercenary gives you a piece of equipment. That's your first piece. Your second piece of equipment comes from hitting level 30 with your mercenary. And then the third piece of equipment for your mercenary is going to come from task number 7. So that's kind of the first milestones that you want to hit. 2, then level up to 30, and then number 7. So get 7 tasks, level 30, you'll have all of your equipment. Then there's a secondary milestone because the tasks go all the way out to 18. Each mercenary can give you up to 18 distinct tasks. And if you complete all 18, you will get a mercenaries pack at the end of once you complete number 18. So that's one of the reasons why you see people trying to grind for the Mysterious Stranger, right? You're trying to get to the Mysterious Stranger in a bounty so that you can generate a new task for your board. So keep that in mind as we're talking about this. Now, as far as, getting your tasks going, you'll always get your 4 at the start of the day, right? You've got there's six slots on the board. First one is for the story, which is always there. Like, whether it just stays there until you complete it, and then it goes to the next one. The second one is Tiki, and it's almost always, I think right now it's always just complete 2 bounties, but they've talked about varying that up a little bit. So for the time being, those first 2 slots are for the story and for Tiki. Then the last 4 are going to be filled daily by your mercenaries that are in your collection. So before you start hunting for the Mysterious Stranger, complete at least one of those tasks that's on your board to make room for the mysterious stranger. Then you can start thinking about, okay, which bounties do I want to pursue to get to try to get a task. Now, key point about that: when you pursue a mysterious stranger and you roll, you get to the mysterious blue swirl, mysterious stranger pops up. The task will be from a merc that is currently in your warband in that bounty. So keep that in mind. So, like, going from that, Siimba, where have you found is the best place to grind tasks, and like which bounty gives you the best percentages, and also like give us an idea of like some tips and shortcuts on how you grind tasks quickly and efficiently?
Fellwood. Fellwood's my answer. I should pull up the client. So as far as grinding stuff goes, quickly and efficiently, if you want to get through all of your tasks, I have found that if you go to Fellwood, specifically normal, because in the normal as opposed to the heroic, there's less, we'll call them stops, from the beginning to the boss, which also means there's potentially less stops in between the beginning and you finding your mysterious stranger. I can't remember what the encounter is called. It is the middle encounter on the bottom row of normal mode in Fellwood.
See if I can find that for you.
Yeah.
So the middle bottom is the Corrupted Ancient.
Corrupted Ancient, and that should be red and a tree, yeah?
Yep, that's the tree guy.
Yep. Corrupted Ancient. That's my guy. So that that's the one that I go to. That's one I would recommend it to go to, and will continue to recommend to go to for multiple reasons. First reason is, like I said, it's shorter than the heroic. Second reason is because you can sort of sometimes manipulate it to where you only have to go through sometimes 1 or 2 encounters before you can get to the mysterious stranger. The reason that you're allowed to do that is because when you hop in, if the swirl is super close to the end, if the swirl is super close, to the boss, or there's 4 or 5 fights takes to get there, you can simply back out. Backing out, it shouldn't, cost anything, and it doesn't, which I think was really awesome on the dev side. It costs you nothing to just back out. So if you're like, oh man, there's 5 fights, I don't want to go through this because I'm not trying to get to the end, you can just back out, cancel, it'll put you right back at the beginning, click in again, and then, I've seen times where I've gone in, I have clicked it, I've beaten 1 fight, and then gone straight from there to, it was like a boon, followed by a spirit healer, followed by a different boon, and then mysterious stranger.
Yeah.
So I did it in 1 fight, and I was like, this is phenomenal. That was amazing. Because that's all I wanted was the tasks. That's it.
Yeah, and the reason I think, just to key on why Fellwood's the first area where the bounties get multiple, like you said, stops or what encounters along the encounter tree, where there's enough of them that the mystery swirl pops pretty much every bounty. If you do Baron's bounties, the paths are pretty short, so there's actually a chance that you won't get the swirl. So if going from Fellwood, I don't know if it's 100%, but it feels like pretty close to 100% you're going to get it. So since we're talking about bounties, let's kind of pivot into that. And as we're doing tasks, chasing down tasks, we're also completing bounties. Bounties, of course, give us experience if we're grinding mercs up to 30, and also for coins. We want the coins at the end of the bounty. But there's some great shortcuts on how to get through these bounties as quickly and painlessly as possible. And there's myriad of these. So I kind of just want to have each of us talk about what our favorite tricks are, because there are some ways to beat some of these bosses that just take all of the randomness and the chance out of it. And since you brought up the Corrupted Ancient, this one's my favorite one, because one of my favorite comps to run bounties with starts with the first 3 is Anacondra, King Crush, and King Mukla. Missing a caster, but that's okay. King Crush just does so much damage and just can clear boards instantly. It's I don't even have to do any targeting. It's just press the frenzy button and he just kills everybody. Great. But here's the cool thing. Since you have beasts, the two of them, and Anacondra can actually get this as well. When you get a treasure from an encounter, there's a chance that you get one that, among its other benefits, will instantly kill any minion that's summoned during the battle for your opponent. You can summon your own, but so if you get all the way to the Corrupted Ancient, that's the guy that every time you hit him with damage, he spits out on the treant, and it's so easy to just get totally overwhelmed if you don't have like a super healthy comp, you don't have a taunt minion or something. So those treants can be a real problem. Well, you get that treasure, just pop, as soon as it pops out, pop, done, pop, done. Don't even have to worry about them. The only thing that it affects is the Corrupted Ancient's abilities, which are keyed on how many die each turn, which that triggers. But yeah, like no board swarming whatsoever, just trade damage until the Corrupted Ancient is dead. Makes that bounty so much faster. So, Dawn, what do you have one or two like favorite bounties and like cheats or tricks to get through them quickly?
I usually do the Bane Hollow, which is Fellwood like number 6, if you're
Yes.
looking at it. So Siimba said 5. I usually do 6. But basically the same things. I usually am doing them to grind through for the Mysterious Stranger. But if I'm actually looking to work through and complete it, a couple of my things, you're talking about mercenaries that you like. I really just kind of stick with Samuro and Zyrella. I usually throw Cariel at the front unless I'm like actually trying to do a task, and then I might throw in one of the other mercenaries to, use their abilities for task completion. But when I do that, one thing that helps a lot is finding some of those passive abilities and just make sure that you're picking things that work with the mercenaries that you're using. Because sometimes I just do that. I'll be grinding and I just autopilot. And then all of a sudden I pick Samuro to get Samuro's abilities like 2 speed faster. And then I realize, oh shoot, that messes it up with the Zyrella thing. So you don't get the benefit. So that's one thing that I think has really made a difference for me, is like actually thinking about, okay, if I really want to get through this, I want to pick things that work with or stay away from things that work against the mercenary combos and synergies that I'm actually playing with.
How about you, Siimba? You got any cool shortcuts for some of these more common bounties?
Shortcuts for... so that was my best shortcut for obtaining the bounties. As far as getting through them, that's tough. I spent the first couple weeks mostly figuring out what the best like key mercenary comps were for clearing the bosses on normal and heroic. And I also have not done a I think the farthest task I've gotten to is 8. So I'm not super up to date on those.
Well, let's talk about that. What are some of your best comps for just powering through a bounty?
Ooh, so I have 2 favorite comps. One is the Zyrella, Velen, Anduin comp. I feel like that one was somewhat common, we'll call it, really early on. And so that one is cool because you basically are just buffing your holy damage and doing a lot of healing and AoE. So your Zyrella is usually helping to protect you from fighters or even protectors, if that's something that you need protection from. And then Valen you're using to buff your holy power, holy damage, and Anduin's used pretty much for the holy nova. Hopefully you guys couldn't hear that, but that was like the loudest thunder I've ever heard.
I heard it. Well, I
okay,
wonder if
you
it'll
did.
make it
Yeah,
through
I
the
was like,
recording,
oh my gosh, I'm gonna.
It's still going.
Yeah, it's still rolling thunder. Okay, anyways, and second is it's like a fire damage comp. So you got Ragnaros, Sparengeddon, and Antonitis, and basically you use, I like to call him Antoine. So you use Antoine for the fireball because it's super fast. So that way it procs all of your fire combos. They use Baron Geddon to do fire damage twice to the entire board, and then Die Insects, because Die Insects is an absolute monster when it comes to clearing mobs. It's so good. I don't think there's anything better. I think that's probably my current favorite comp for
that's
clearing everything.
Or just to tack on to the fire comps, you can also use Tavish Stormpike as the setup for your fire combos, because his fire trap is speed 2. And he's a fighter, which the fire comp doesn't have normally. So, because what Geddon, Tony, and Rag is a caster fighter, right? Yeah. So Tavish gives you or not, I meant protector. caster protector. So Tavish gives you a fighter if you need a fighter for a particular run. So that's cool too. What's your favorite comp for power and through, Dawn?
Pretty much just Xyrella and Samuro. I usually use that because I feel like in a lot of fights I can get some really good combinations of critical hits, whether it's the critical hit from Xyrella hitting and then all of a sudden I still get to hit twice with Samuro, or the critical hit coming from Samuro, so then Xyrella hits it and then Samuro gets to hit it twice for 2 critical hits. So I feel like that's been pretty strong. Also, one thing I think that has been helpful for me when I'm actually just if I'm just grinding PvE, grinding through, not necessarily working towards completing bounties or working towards the story, but just that, that kind of more mindless grind. I just pulled the game up on my laptop and I was doing the grind while I was watching one of my TV shows, because then I could kind of just be like, oh, okay, like I know my comp is really strong, my warband, my mercenaries are strong. I'm just gonna pop them in there, and also one of the other things that helped a lot was as often as I can, I try to take, I'll call it the path of least resistance, but like Siimba was saying, like try to take the path that gives you the least amount of actual fights. If you're just looking to complete the bounty, if you're looking to actually do completing the tasks or using abilities or whatever like that, then you probably want to do some of the fights. But when I'm just doing that repetitive rep or grinding for coins or something, I try to do as little of the actual fight encounters as I can and do as many of the other ones as possible. So those have been helpful for me, trying to just kind of do the climb and not care about anything else.
Word. I like I mentioned the big beastie comp, but I'm also a fan of the Xyrella Samuro combination, because the two of them alone can just power through almost anything. Especially, I think the thing that gets missed, I think, on the Xyrella thing is that her ability to lower attack is what makes the fights so survivable, because then Samuro doesn't have to worry about blowback damage when he's attacking. He just takes 0 on the bounce back. So you don't have to risk him dying to attacking into a bunch of high attack minions. But just some general tips, if you know what boss you're going for, you can usually stack certain minions or certain attack types to go in. If you're going for Lord Banehollow, which is it's 3 demons at the end, and they all do shadow damage. If you take demons, then they're immune to shadow damage just by virtue of Lord Banehollow's ability. So you can literally just take a demon comp all the way to the top and not have to worry about taking any damage, unless it's from an attack. So all their shadow abilities just do no damage. Or you could take a holy comp all the way up, and because they take a bunch of extra damage from holy. So there's the stuff like that, taking frost damage against fire minions. All that stuff works. So pay attention to what your comp is based on what boss you're trying to grind, because you can make your life easier if you take the right abilities for the right boss, which I think was part of the design of the PvE content, especially when you get to some of the later ones, the really tough ones, for Blackrock Mountain. Those are some tough bosses, so your comp actually starts to matter at that point. But last point I want to hit on grinding PvE, the other point besides tasks for grinding PvE is coins. We want to farm coins, right? We want to earn coins for our mercs and power up their abilities and power up their equipment and get them all the way maxed out. That's the goal. Here's the trick. There is a known list of which bounties has a chance of spawning which coins when you finish it. It's not random. It's also not based on who's in your warband, I don't think. It's somewhat random, but it's heavily favored towards certain mercenaries. I put the spreadsheet in the show notes, but all you need to know is that there's a number 1, number 2, number 3 slot in each bounty, and that's like the highest chance to get coins for that mercenary. So, for example, we're talking about Lord Banehollow. Lord Banehollow has a high chance to spawn coins for Anduin, King Crush, and Brucon. So if you're trying to power up Anduin or trying to craft Anduin, keep running Lord Banehollow because that's where the Anduin coins are most likely to pop out. So there is a method to the madness of grinding PvE, and it will make your mercenaries experience much easier on you if you know these little hints on how to maximize your tasks, how to maximize your coins, etc., and how to speed up those running through those bounties. Because the last thing you want to do is grind endlessly for no reason, right? Get smart about how you grind because you'll get to the end point where you want to get with your mercs faster if you do some of these things to help you speed things up.
Yes, and I think it's a little bit confusing because if you look when you're in a bounty, if you look at the chest, it says earn coins from mercenaries in your party from your collection or get some of the following, and then it lists the 3. But when you're just looking at like the list of bounties, deciding which boss you want to face, you can click on the chest and it'll say earn some coins for the mercenaries in your party plus a random one of the following. So it's like slightly different wording, and that's where there's like some confusion.
Well.
Yeah, because they kind of say 2 different things, but yeah, you should get some coins at least for something in your party that you have plus those.
Right, but you're not going to see like 6 coin or all 4 or 5 chests aren't going to be for stuff that's in your party.
Right.
You'll probably get 1 coin or 2 coins for somebody in your party, then maybe a random one in your collection, and then probably some from 1 or 2 of the 3 reward possibilities on the list.
Yep. There is a list somewhere as well of I'll see if I'll track it down, and I'll make sure that it's linked in our show notes and on our YouTube and stuff for anybody that hasn't seen it already. But there is like a whole document that tracks exactly what the tasks are for each of the mercenaries and the rewards and stuff that you get there too. So, you mentioned farming the coins from the mercenaries, but you do get coins for that mercenary by completing their bounties as well. So you can kind of do a combination if you're looking to really like power coin, we'll say, like, power the coins for specific mercenaries. You can put them in your party, you can work on their tasks, and you can run the specific bounties that will ideally get you coins for that mercenary to try to get you the most for that if you're looking to, upgrade for certain mercs, or if you're looking to unlock one. You talked, Cinder, about actually crafting some of them. So if you're looking for certain ones, it's going to be a little bit slower, but that's a great way to make sure that you're trying to build up specific coins if you're looking to craft something as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's been kind of my free to play journey. Is I've been hitting Corrupted Ancient and Lord Banehollow pretty consistently to try to get coins for Gul'dan and Anduin, and I have crafted them both. So probably next on my list is Alexstrasza, because I think I have almost everybody else, and eventually Lich King. But the Lich King coins come from Executus, which is that's a fun one. So might have to build a comp specifically to run that bounty if I want to start grinding that out. And Diablo too. Thorson spits out Diablo coins, which is another really tough encounter.
How about you, Siimba? Have you been grinding for any coins or have any additional tips for searching for coins?
I've been grinding out Malfurion still as of late. It should only take me a couple more runs for me to be able to craft my buddy. I was going to start looking for Lich King after that as well. But to Cinder's point, that is a hell of a bounty.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Lich King has been kind of showing his face less in PvP, just because of some of the comps that have been coming around. It makes him kind of null and void. So I think I'll eventually get Lich King, but just not as soon. I really want Edwin now. Just, I don't know. I feel like every time something new comes out, everybody's like, I want the new thing. So, I mean, good on them for putting him out, but I really want to try Edwin, and then Malfurion I will get. There's really no other better way to get their coins, and besides, making sure you're going through their task line and using them on the bounties that give their coins as well.
Yeah, if you're curious about what's popular right now, we'll give you this glimpse. We're into the Inn-vitational that's happening today through the rest of the week. The highest number of takes for any mercenary, Diablo and Cairne have been taken the maximum number of times by each region. Americas, Asia Pacific, China, and EU have all taken Diablo and Cairne 3 out of 3 times possible. Samuro, almost across the board, Americas only took him 2 out of 3 possible times. Malfurion has been taken twice mostly, and then 3 times in the European build, so maximum there. And then everybody else down the list is just a mishmash. So Diablo, Cairne, Samuro, Malfurion, those are the really popular ones in PvP, it seems like right now, and it seems like that's being reflected in this tournament, because those are kind of like mainstays for any kind of competition. Cairne, I think we talked about it. Cairne with the speed manipulation, Samuro with the multiple attack trigger being so easy for him, and Malfurion, same thing, speed manipulation. So those are key critical things for building matchups.
Yeah. I do want to mention one more thing that I've kind of thought about too with using your coins. I've gotten asked this like on stream when I'm, playing mercenaries on streams. People are like, what do you max out first? Or what do you use your coins for? Which abilities first, or what are you upgrading? And I would say, we're focusing today mostly on the PvE. So if you're looking for the PvE stuff, I would recommend putting coins into upgrading your abilities and not your equipment, at least not at first, because being able to do more with those abilities will help you complete the bounties. And also when you do the tasks for that mercenary, such as dealing a certain amount of damage or healing a certain amount, it really helps to have those abilities upgraded so that you're not having to use that ability like 100 times to do that, because that's just meaning you're having to do even more to get that same effect. So that, I think that's one tip that when I started putting more into that and I realized I'm going to have to grind so many more times or sit here and just use one ability, pass, one ability, pass, one ability, pass to try to complete tasks for a mercenary. It's like, oh, this is so painful. And then I started upgrading the tasks and I was like, oh, this feels a lot better. Or upgrading the abilities to complete those.
Here's a fun tip. You just reminded me of something. So what you're talking about, like, is if you get, for instance, one of Anduin's first tasks is, deal 100 damage or whatever with his primary ability. That primary ability deals 2 damage at its first tier, and then the second tier is 5, and then the next one I think is 8. So it goes a heck of a lot faster if you upgrade it to the 8 rather than leaving it at 2.
Yes.
So that's what you're talking about. Yep. Now I found a cool way, like if you have a task that's for just doing an ability a certain number of times, like use this ability 12 times or whatever. If you go into Fellwood 6, which is Lord Bane Hollow, there are a lot of encounters with imps. You get imps all over the place. And one of the usual combinations is there's like a satyr that makes more imps, and there's the jumbo imp which just attacks. There's the doubling imp, which again makes more imps, but there's one imp that all it does, the only thing it does ever, is raise the health of demons. So if you destroy every other minion on the board, all it ever does is just use that passive ability and nothing else. So then you can sit there and simply not attack. If you don't select any ability for one of your mercenaries, and then you hit the end turn, they do nothing. So if you have to do like this healing ability or summon an extra minion, whatever, one of those passive abilities X number of times, but it's difficult to do in the course of a battle, isolate that healing imp and then just spam that ability you need to do for the task and pass for your other mercenaries. That way you can just bang it out real quick and then move on with your bounty and complete that task. So yeah, there's little ways to kind of like manipulate battles if you know which enemy minion to isolate. That way you don't have to worry about your own minions being attacked and destroyed to mess up your bounty run.
You have any other thoughts or tips or tricks that you want to add, Siimba?
Honestly, no. That was perfect. I wish, or I want to make eventually like a spreadsheet for each encounter. Be like, oh, this is what comp I use here. This is what comp I use here. This is what comp I use here. I don't think I'll do it for all 18 tasks for all 18 mercenaries, but for bounties, I could do that. But yeah, that's why I like the bounty that I go to farm to. That's why I use the fire comp pretty much exclusively, because when you get to the end and he's spitting out all those trees, that we're worried about, die insects kind of just wipes that. So if you don't focus on the tree imps while they're very small, just focus on the boss, then every couple turns you can hit a die insects and it'll just clear the board. That being said, I've also done it with the Edwin comp, because that boss is a protector, so the extra damage that you get from your casters is super insane. And a lot of the time Anduin's Holy Nova can clear those imps for you instead, while dealing double damage to the boss. And then if you're using Velen correctly every couple turns, or on turn one, depending on the boons that you get, you'll be getting that extra holy damage. So both those comps kind of just smack that run, and that's why I like it so much.
Okay, to close out, let me see. What has been... I want to ask you, and then I'll put my answer. So let's start with you, Siimba. What has been your favorite thing about the PVE part of Mercenaries?
Favorite thing about PVE? This question feels very targeted to the PvP player of the group. That's okay. I'm not mad. Just sitting here like, it gives my mercenaries more XP to go play PvP. No. I think my favorite thing I didn't find until I started getting actually past Fellwood, into some of the harder bounties and the heroics. Because after that, it feels more like a legit puzzle. I can't just put something together, where I have 3 mercenaries and then 3 on the bench that I'm trying to get the XP for, fly through it, restart it again. Like I started one where I went in and I thought I was going to do that. All 3 of my starting mercenaries were dead in counter 1, and I was like, okay, alrighty, we're going to go back to the drawing board. Like this will not be used for gaining experience. And so it felt less like click button while watching anime and more I need to be engaged. It felt like how I felt. I had a great liking for the stuff like in Naxxramas, in standard and stuff like those. In order to get cards and going through those solo puzzles, they felt like puzzles. That's what I'm trying to get at. Those encounters felt like puzzles, and I like encounters and stuff in PvE that feels like puzzles, especially if it's not an open world game, right? Like there's nothing you can do to make a card game open world. So the fact that I had to try and think, I was like, okay. Yeah, like, of course, there has to be easy encounters. You have to ease everyone into it, but, like, I'm not bored anymore. I like that.
I think that's a fair answer. All right, Cinder, same question.
I'm mad because Siimba stole my answer, so. So let me throw another something else into the mix. Yeah, I mean, this episode's basically been about solving the puzzles, right? Like so obviously that we all love that part of the PvE content. But I'm gonna key off something else that he said. The passivity of the grind is nice. And it seems like you would be like, whoa, who wants to do a mindless grind where you just point and click, constantly. Well, here's the thing. It's passive enough after a certain point. After you've got like one of those comps that just works and you just power through, or you have like the comp for a very specific bounty and you just, okay, I need to do this bounty 5 times to get these coins. It's passive enough that you can do it on your phone or your iPad or whatever and do something else. And that's really nice to me. I like optimizing my time. So I'm gonna reach out to some of my crossover people. I All Elite Wrestling has gotten me back into pro wrestling. I used to be a pro wrestling kid because of my grandparents, and I got out of it as an adult. But I'm back in the fandom now. And when I watch wrestling on Wednesday nights, I got my phone in one hand, and I'm grinding. I'm just grinding bounties, just getting coins, and working my way to some of those legendaries I still haven't crafted yet. So yeah, it seems weird that would be a feature, but I really feel like it is, because having a steady progression system is important to keep people engaged in a game and keep people invested in the content, which I think Mercenaries has done. Like there's always a new legendary I want to craft. There's always a piece of equipment I haven't gotten yet. There's always, my favorite mercenary. I still need to level this up to tier 4 or tier 5 in their abilities. So there's always something for me to do. There's always something for me to chase and keep me engaged, even if it's in a passive way, while I'm doing something else. So I find that there's a nice mix of both the passive grind and the active stuff, where we're trying to figure out these really tough bounties and clear through like the heroic mode on heroic Blackrock. I haven't even put my head around that yet, y'all. It's just like terrifying to me. That's gonna be so rough.
Yeah, some of those are. I really like that about Mercenaries too. I think I will say something different because I kind of talked about this. I think both Siimba and I have been doing some content focused on like mindset. And I think for me, like this mode, having things that I can really set a goal for and achieve, and it be like a set thing. Like for me, that has felt huge because let me give you an example. Okay, you're playing standard and you say, I want to hit legend. Great goal. But how do you make that happen? And then if you don't make that happen, you feel like you failed. It varies every month, right? The meta changes, all that stuff. But especially for the PvE for Mercenaries, I can say, hey, I want to unlock the task 7 items for all the mercenaries, or I want to get them to level 30. And they have, it's very clear cut, set, achievable things. So for me, I can actually feel like I've really been successful, or I really accomplished something. And I kind of feel like I'm getting that reward out of it. Some of the old, like I actually haven't been a fan of a lot of the solo content just because that's not my thing. Like I love that they have it. A lot of people have enjoyed some of the previous like solo adventures and solo content, but for me, it just kind of felt like, okay, why am I doing this? Like I can just play against the computer and then I don't get anything out of it. Like, it's not my thing. But this, I can go in, I can play the bounties and I can build up coins. So I can, say, oh, cool. I want to actually now work on maxing this ability for these certain mercs, or I want to fully max out mercenaries. And it just gives me like really obtainable goals and visible progress, which I like a lot. That's been my favorite thing about being able to just grind these bounties. So, any other closing thoughts before we wrap it up for this week?
I'm ready to talk about that the Invitational next week. That's gonna be something else, because I'm gonna watch some of that for sure.
Super excited to see how that turns out. I'm not surprised at all at the percentages of mercenaries we saw in those comps. I'm kind of hoping that what this Invitational does is force a meta shakeup, right? Because there's always players, whether it's top level or people who just hate, top tier decks that put up something meta breaking or against the meta, we'll call it. So to see those things start popping up, that's gonna be super fun.
Yep.
Yeah. 100% agreed. I think we are all very excited to talk about that next week. So hopefully anyone listening as well, if you don't get a chance to watch all of it, or if you can catch some of it, hopefully you will enjoy us talking about that next week as well. And we hope that you found a lot of these tips for PvE useful. Let us know if you enjoyed these, what tips, maybe you hadn't heard of that we gave you that you found useful, or if we're missing something, let us know. Find us on
give us
YouTube.
yours.
Yeah, exactly. We want to hear from you. All the places. All right, let's start. Here we go. YouTube. Everywhere you can find audio podcasts. On Twitter at Spirit Healer Pod. You can send us an email, spirithealerpodcast@gmail.com, and join in our discussions on our Discord. All of those places are wonderful. If you want to reach out to us on any of the social medias, email, jump in the Discord, and let us know. We've got different chats going in there. We're definitely going to be talking about this tournament going on, but if you want to find more people that are also talking about their PvE strategies, then jump in there and let us know. And we also want to thank Purple Cat for the use of the amazing music that we use for the show. And to find more from each of us, you can find myself on Twitter at DonnieDK. That's DAWNIEDK. Twitch and YouTube, dragonrider DK. And talking everything standard Hearthstone over at the Dr. 3 podcast. And how about you, Cinder?
It's the Twitter at Cinder Ascendance. Hit me with your cool PvE tips and tricks and shortcuts and stuff. And also, yes, please, I'm going to say it again. Jump in the Discord, because the show is new. The Discord is brand new as well. So we need more people to be in there. But let me give you an incentive to be in there. Our patron saint of communication from Blizzard, Deck Tech, Nick Weiss is a friend of ours. He literally listens to this show every episode since episode 0. We go way back with him, when he was a Twitter egg, when Hearthstone was brand new and we were all just getting started with this, and now he works for Blizzard, and we're still friends with that guy. He's still in my DMs. So if you want to use us as a sounding board to talk to Blizzard, they're listening. Okay? So come talk to us and be part of the conversation.
Yes. Huge shout out to Deck Tech. Been a fan for a long time. Awesome guy. You definitely should follow. And
follow him.
Yes, follow him. Also, we have, you mentioned earlier, Pasca hangs out in our Discord as well, always helping to post big updates and important things that are going on in terms of Mercenaries. So, it's slowly building, but we really want it to take off. So we would love to have you in there. And not only in our Discord, but Siimba, where can people find you outside of our Discord?
Outside of the Discord, it's going to be SIIMBA TV_ on everything that is not YouTube. And the YouTube, you just take away the underscore and it's Siimba TV. Hopefully one day I'll be able to, solidify everything as Siimba TV on all platforms, but we can't. So Siimba TV_ on everything. And super excited to talk to you guys and connect with some people, make some new friends, and start putting out the content that not only I want to make, but that you guys enjoy. Yep.
And look, I'm gonna get right back on the soapbox and say follow and sub to Siimba. I'm dead serious. His Twitter is one of the most positive places that exists on the internet. If you want to feel good about life and get a little motivation, follow Siimba, because the man has a beautiful soul. And if you follow him on Twitch, you get to see that live. So you should do all those things.
Exactly.
Safe space streaming, man. Everybody welcome.
Yes. That's what, a big thing with our show too. We talked about that when we were creating our crew here. That was a big thing. Yeah. And I think we all definitely embody that. And yeah, Siimba plays multiple games. I love hanging out in his stream too, because I get to see him play some Hearthstone, and then he plays Storybook Brawl, which I suck at, and I'm trying to learn it. So I'm like, all right, let me watch what Simba's doing, because oh my god, I suck at it. I thought I was going to be way better.
Yeah, Fairy Tale Battlegrounds is awesome. I played Destiny 2 this week. Yeah, I'm bringing Rocket League and Apex back next week. I'll play it all. If you want me to play it, I'll play it. If I haven't played it, I'll play it. I downloaded Splitgate the other day. What else? I've never played Ark Survival, but I have it. I'm planning on doing some Shiners runs of Cuphead. Every time you die, you take a sip. That's going to be a mess one of these weekends. Listen, I'm so excited to just have fun with people, man.
Okay, all I hear is if you're still listening at this point and you want to see that happen or you want to help participate in that and enjoy just some good people having fun playing games, get in there, follow, and check it out. Yes. And we will talk more next week about the PVE stuff, tournaments, more mercenaries. We've got so much more to talk about. But thank you, as always, for listening, and thank you for choosing us as your resting place of choice.